Boom!
Woo!
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Business Bros, brought to you by Pipeline Insurance. And we got another great show for you guys today. And I get to talk to a fellow podcaster, which means this should be pretty interesting. So let's get this thing rocking and rolling. Here we go.
Shut up and sit down.
The Business Bros podcast was created for you. Learn from the business professionals who come to share their stories. Find out what's working in business and social media, what's hot and what's not, straight from the mouths of successful entrepreneurs out there doing the real work. And now, welcome to another episode of
Business Bros.
Yeah, it's that time, Ham. Drop the heat.
Is that time? Let's do it. All right, all you business pros out there. Before we jump into the show, just a quick reminder to please subscribe on whichever platform it is that you're listening to us on today. Give us a like, give us a follow, subscribe, and drop a review. Help other like-minded business owners find value from our awesome guests while we rise up in those podcast rankings. We'll sincerely appreciate every single one of you for it. And if you want to be a guest on the show, we'd love to have you on to learn from you as well. Go to www.businessbros.biz, schedule your time. Don't forget to follow us on all our social medias at Business Bros Pod. All right, everybody, we're so honored and excited to bring another incredible guest to the Business Bros Pod, brought to you by Pipeline Insurance. Since being put in front of his church at a young age, our guest always felt that he had the gift to share the spoken word. He didn't know how he would share his gift, but he found his artistic inspiration after the world shut down in spring of 2020. Boy, I wonder what happened then. If you ever met our guest in person, there's a good chance you'd see him in sunglasses due to a vision impairment. But our guest has a very different type of vision. He sees his life as a movie, don't we all? And he knows that we are the stars of our own little show. Being the star of his show, our guest was inspired to create a podcast and take people behind the scenes, share the realness of life through his visionary shades, and form a community where we can all create a better tomorrow. Joining us today from the Behind the Shades podcast, welcome to the show, Terraine Brown.
There it is right there. What do you think, Terraine? James has a way with words, doesn't he?
Oh, yes. James, thank you very much for that intro. I may have to hire you to introduce me every time I enter a new building or a job opportunity. Thank you. Loved it.
You got it. You got it.
All right, let's get this thing rocking and rolling. Terraine, tell me a little bit about your background. So if I met you in person, you're always wearing shades, right? So tell me what's going on. You know, obviously it's going to lead to Behind the Shades. Tell me what's the deal with you as far as vision impairment, and how did that inspire you to start your show?
Well, for me, wearing shades, it was an opportunity. Because growing up, I didn't enjoy looking someone in the eyes. So it was a way for me to kind of hide behind it. And I always felt that the eyes tell a story that sometimes we don't want to tell. So for me, even though I wear glasses for distance when I'm driving, the shades was always cool to me. Remember the Terminator 2 when Arnold walks into the bar and he beats up everyone in the bar? I just had that envision that shades made you cooler. And because growing up, I didn't like looking people in the eyes, I had another reason to use it as well.
I need your jacket, your boots, and your bike. That was James, did I nail that? Was that okay? Was that okay? What do you think, dude? He's gonna hop in here and give you.
You got it. You got it. I mean, you got the line right at least.
Okay, good. I didn't know if I was gonna blow it. Arnold voice, probably not so good. All right, so you got the shades, and the shades help out really well with confidence, right? Like peering into somebody's soul. You know, it's funny that you mentioned that because I remember like trying to not BS myself, right? We always have this idea of imposter syndrome. This is when somebody's trying to knock you down, right? And so, or when you're trying to knock yourself down, right? In your mind, something's going on. And one of my cures, one of the ways that I kind of overcome that is I will go and look in a mirror and I will just look into my eyes, right? Because there's something about looking deep into somebody's soul, even if it's your own. You can't lie to that. Like, you know what's going on in your mind. You know what's going on in your head. You know what's actually stopping you and what like walls you're putting up to block yourself from moving forward. So how did you overcome getting yourself out of behind your shades?
Oh, for me, to be very honest, funny story, it was because of a woman. I would
Funny how that
you
works.
know how always, right? You know you when you're kissing for the first time and you want to open your eyes because you want to see if the person's enjoying it, right?
Yeah.
I used to
We're
do
doing it right.
that, and it was just awkward. I was just so awkward in my late teens. But similar to you, I would just look in the mirror and just say, I need to do this. So what I did was I was overcompensating. So I would stare with my eyes wide open and just gaze, right? And it would make people uncomfortable because, like you're saying, if they're telling me something that they're trying to BS me, or they're trying to lie, or maybe pull the wool over my eyes, they would just look to the left, look to the right. But for me, that's how I did it. I just started not in a creepy, I'm going to kidnap you in my white van type of way, but I would just stare at the people who I was talking to. So that seemed to work now that I'm in my.
I'm sorry. I took it too far.
The staring, man. I'm sorry. I'm getting over myself right here. But that's a great strategy. It's like anything else. I'm sure even at that point when you were overcompensating and into a conversation, you realized that you were overcompensating that way. Like there was still that uncomfortableness, like, oh, did I just make myself look weird? Like, oh, like that I messed up that conversation. But you kept going anyways, right? And I think that's the thing that we as human beings need to realize is that when we're trying to break into something that we've never done before, we're trying to, develop a new habit, become something in our lives. When we do it the first time, the first couple times, it's not going to go exactly the way we had it in our mind. It reminds me of like having an argument with my wife, right? Like I can script it in my head. I know exactly how it's going to go. And then right when I get there, it turns into like mud. Nothing goes the way I want it to go. That's why she's always right and she always wins. So how did you go past that uncomfortable? Okay, so you got there, you're doing it. Now you're realizing you're making some mistakes. How do you push past that?
Oh, I was finding comfort in people's discomfort, and I found it entertaining. I just realized that I needed to be better, and I think a lot of people don't ask themselves that question: what do I need to improve in? So, for me, that awkwardness, I had to overcome it. So, I started people watching. I started finding the humor in others, which made me laugh at myself. It's like your first kiss. Your first kiss is going to be the most sloppy. It's going to be the most awkward. It's going to be something you run back and you tell your boys, I can't believe I did this. When I was trying to, insert tongue there, I missed her entire face and I hit her cheek. It's going to be one of those stories where you're just going to laugh. So I found a way to laugh at myself. And after a while, it just didn't matter anymore.
All right, so tell me about behind the scenes, the podcast. So obviously, 2020 comes in, March 2020, we are all locked in at home. Why a podcast? What did you decide to do and what's your podcast about?
Well, I started Behind the Shades in 2020, like you mentioned. I had all this extra time because my friends and I, we couldn't go to the clubs. We couldn't go to the bars. We couldn't party like we used to. So Friday night and Saturday night, I had an extra 4 to 6 hours. We used to be out until 2 a.m. So what I figured out is that I enjoyed speaking to people like I'm speaking to the two of you today. And I thought, what if I created something with my own style where I was giving a voice to those who maybe didn't have the courage to speak up or maybe who weren't comfortable enough. So I started that. It's been a process. I've learned so much and I look back and I'm happy that I did it because I feel that I'm speaking for those who maybe can't speak for themselves.
So let's walk through your podcast experience because prior to the pandemic, James and I had started podcasting in 2018. We made this crazy goal. I set this crazy goal. I just dragged him along with me, but he loves it now. But we were going to do this podcasting for 5 days a week. And we're going to do it for 3 years, and the idea was to start building an audience, right? Building a brand and building an audience to grow your business essentially. And even though we started, there were other people who started podcasts right around the same time, and many of them fell off. And there are a few that are still going today, like Melina Palmer. She does the Brainy Biz podcast, and she has an amazing podcast on behavioral economics. Like, why do people buy? She started around the same time we did, and she's still going strong and like continuing past that awkwardness at the beginning, the learning phases. You started almost a year ago. What episode are you on? How are you doing as far as consistency is concerned? Where do you see it going?
Well, you're right. It's officially my first episode of September. I'm about 65 episodes in, and it's all about the consistency as you mentioned. A lot of podcasters, you probably look at the numbers within the first 6 to 12 months, they're gone. Either their passion has left them, they didn't become as successful as they envision. But what keeps me going is that I just enjoy in my soul speaking to people. I love hearing people's stories. I love communicating, and I find it's like a happy place. You know, like Superman has his solitude fortress, right? It's like that to me, where when I'm there, I just feel I'm in a safe, happy space, and it's just like I'm speaking to my friends at dinner with a round of beers, and we're just talking about events of the day.
Yeah, dude, having the conversation is totally fun. I know what you mean because we started off doing our podcast live, right? And there was this feeling, well, maybe not the first like 30 episodes or so. The first 30 episodes or so, I would drag James into it. But somewhere around 30 episodes, we found these, started to find a little bit of a groove. We had maybe, all three of our loyal fans listening to us at that point. And to sit down and have a conversation, like the moment you flip the switch on and you're going live, there's a different feeling involved, right? When you have a conversation with somebody and you're just kind of, shooting the shit, figuring out what's going on in their life, learning from each other, hearing some amazing stories throughout the day. Like, to me, that's inspiring. It's inspiring. It's what makes the day fun to be able to have a conversation with somebody, learn something new, because that's really what our mind likes to do. We want to learn something new, and to be able to do it every day, that's fun. I mean, what are some of the amazing things that you've learned from some of your guests?
Oh, what I've learned, for example, the swinger community, I didn't realize how big it is. And I've interviewed swingers and the sophistication to their day, how invites only mansions where it is everything that we thought of, just organized. You have people, they show up there, they're dressed head to toe in the finest of outfits, and the way to describe it is simply amazing. And that's what I've learned. I've learned about the differences of other people, but you're right, it is so much fun. I look at that interview where I've interviewed a couple that moved from Canada, where I am, to the United Kingdom to find love with each other, that shortly afterwards joined the swinger community, and now they're living a lifestyle that they always had inside them. I find something like that amazing, and it opens my eyes to a totally different world.
Dude, I totally feel you. And I think you just summoned and James is gonna hop in here. I'm almost positive. So
I mean, I was gonna let you see where you're gonna take that on your own.
So, I told you I dragged James into podcasting, right? And he didn't really want to do it. And the whole reason where we got the whole idea of Business Bros was because when we first started, we were recording, and to get him to sit behind the mic and have a conversation with me, I bribed him with some Bud Light, right? And so, all right, he had a Bud Light, episode 1, drinking, 2. By the time we recorded episode 3, he had a buzz going. And so when we start the episode, that's what he does, Business Bros. So after that kind of stuck around. Well, it became fun for him. So much, in fact, that now he has his own podcast, and that thing's blowing up, and it's right up what you just mentioned. So I'm gonna let him tell you a little bit about it.
Right up. I mean, it's along the same lines. It is another kind of non-monogamy. So my podcast is called Practicing Polyamory, and I am polyamorous, and I just interview polyamorous folks and people within that community, therapists and people to coaches, all kinds of fun stuff. So very similar to this one, but for the people of polyamory.
But it's right, dude. It's trippy, right? Because I didn't know anything about it, and I produce his show, so I'm behind the scenes, just like he's behind the scenes on our show. I'm behind the scenes in his show, and just like you're saying, being a part of that and listening to those conversations, you're like, whoa. I mean, honestly, the way I feel about it was,
I wasn't aware that was something a person could do.
right? I didn't know. I just didn't know. So, what do you think about that? Having the ability to have a conversation about things that you probably didn't even know existed.
Oh yeah, that community opened my eyes. I was so naive, and I think a lot of people are naive to it, and they look down on it. But speaking to this couple, I realized one of two things. One, when I went back and spoke about it, I realized I actually have friends in that community. that I didn't even know. And two, well, there's three reasons. Two, they would suggest, "Do you want to be a part of it?" But I was like, "No, I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet." But the third thing is that they're seeking love, happiness, and fulfillment just like everyone else.
Mhm.
And the way they detailed it to me, it makes sense the way it was explained. It's one of those things. It's like politics, religion, things that people don't want to talk about. If someone can articulate why they believe in it, you should at the very least respect it. And when it comes to this community, my hat goes off to them. They're a very loving community. Everyone that I've met have been very, very helpful to me. And explaining it is it is the foundation because I knew very little. I was very ignorant to it, but now I feel like I'm on the instead of me being outside the building, I'm kind of at the window looking in. Maybe this could be for me.
You're aware,
Nice.
dude. You're aware it exists, right? And and I think that's where James is in the same type of boat. I mean, he grew up like me. We didn't know that was like a thing, right? That it didn't exist.
Didn't
And
know it was an option.
I mean, tell me, James, like what was that like switching over?
I mean, it was an identity change. That was the biggest thing. It was having to realize that I'm not, the way that I was brought up to be. Everything that I saw on TV, everything that I thought I knew wasn't. It was like, I don't know. It was just embracing a whole new way of loving and living. Is fun. It's been fun for me.
It's
I mean,
been
it's been a lot. It's been a lot, man. Ups and downs, but I wouldn't change it.
That's it. That's it. All right, let's switch it up a little bit. So, who are the guests that come on your show? What's the criteria to be a guest on Behind the Shades?
For me, it's pretty simple. It's someone that wants to basically tell their story. Let's say they went from a personal journey of despair, pain, and sadness, and they've come out of it some way. For example, since we touched on it, we have people that suffer mental health. I did an interview with a young lady that she was being sexually abused by her grandfather.
Whoa.
And she didn't realize it was wrong until one day when he was touching her inappropriately. Her mother, the grandfather's daughter, pulled up unexpectedly and he kind of moved his hand away and he looked embarrassed. So that started to generate feelings that maybe this is wrong behavior. But she tells a very compelling story because she would say that while she was going through it, because he was touching her body in a certain way, it did feel good, even though eventually she knew that it was wrong. So the type of people I try to interview is just someone who's going through something and they've been able to overcome it, and they want to help others who may be going through it as well.
That's a lot of vulnerability right there to share those stories on a podcast. I mean, that to me, that's the kind of drama, almost like like a traffic accident. You hope everybody's okay, but you can't help but to look, and you want to kind of listen in, but you don't want to be nosy. Like that's what I feel like is going on your show. Am I right? Like is that what the episodes kind of end up being?
Oh yeah, it's definitely one of those where you're cruising on the highway and you may look to your left and you hope that you don't crash, but the crash to your left is so interesting. It's definitely one of those. It's people opening it up, and I take it as a compliment that they're willing to even tell me stories like that because I will tell you something. I don't know about you guys, but if my grandmother or my grandfather was touching me inappropriately, I don't know if I could tell that story in my 30s.
Right? Yeah, it's something that you kind of keep a little. That's a skeleton that you don't want to take out at any time. To be able to express it, it's something else, dude. That says something about what you're doing on your show. So let's talk a little bit about your show. What's the end game? Like I remember when we first started, and even to this day, you're episode 854, bro. Like there's a lot of practice that we've gone into this. And we still ask ourselves on a regular basis, what's the purpose? Why are we doing this? Who are we helping? Like we ask that to ourselves all the time. So I'm going to ask that for you of your show. What's the purpose behind your show? What's your end game? What are you trying to achieve?
Well, my end game is eventually to take it to the next level, and I want to get into motivational speaking or life and wellness coaching. I want to help people who are going through this trauma, not only to speak about it, but to set up protocols or even boundaries, and plans and goals to overcome it so it doesn't repeat. So ultimately, my end goal is just to continue to help people, but maybe more on a one on one versus me getting them after they've already corrected whatever issue that they're going through.
So you're using the podcast to get better at public speaking. You're using the podcast to generate a database of people who are kind of, going through some stuff, potential clients or audience members. And that's essentially what we're using the podcast for, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Improve on myself and understand that what I went through, not being raised by my mother or my father, is there's millions of people that way. Not to minimize it, but there's a lot of people who are going through many other different things, and ultimately get in contact with those who are going through it and help them through it, rather than me speaking to them after the fact now and just preparing the next generation to hopefully be better and become better.
So are you treating this like a hobby, or are you treating it like a business? Is this something that you're going to do kind of just on your free time whenever you want to, or is this something that you want it to like become your lifestyle and this is all you're going to do?
I want this to become my lifestyle. Right now, I'm in the finance industry and I love what I do and I love the people that I've met so far. But, and you guys know this, when there's something that you know in your soul you're meant to do, something that you're very passionate about, this is that same passion. I'm still that boy that used to stand in front of a church of 100 to 200 people and give Bible readings, which I love doing. So this is my version of that, just a 2022 version of it. And I want this to be my lifestyle. Similar to like all the fitness people when they tell you we are making these muscles and we are shirtless because it's our lifestyle, not because of a hobby.
Well, I'm trying to get ripped myself, but I don't know if I'm gonna walk around shirtless. I don't think I have that kind of confidence. No matter how ripped I get, I don't think it happens. Right? Woo! 854 episodes. That's right, Martin. Stay curious, my brother. So let me ask you this. If you're treating this like a business, then you're going to hit obstacles no matter what level of business that you're in. We've interviewed people who are super successful, people who are just getting started, and all of them have obstacles that are in their way. How they approach them and how they overcome them is the difference between what makes them successful and what doesn't. So at this point in your podcast or your professional life or your personal life, like, what's the thing that keeps you up at night? What's the problem that you're like trying to solve right now?
Well, one of the problems I think that I've battled, especially earlier on, was understanding that my friends may not support me in the way that I would want them to. For example, some people feel that your friends should watch every episode, they should send you donations, they should speak about it, they should be your marketing campaign. They should walk around with signs that says, "Go watch Terraine's podcast." So that was something that I battled with earlier on, and I found that the connections that I made through networking, through my podcast, through meeting people such as yourself, as you two, that was going to be those who are waiting at the finish line to cheer me on. It may not be my friends, they may not be people I drink a beer with, but that was something that did keep me up at night. But I had to understand that everyone supports in their own way. Saying, "I wish you all the best," could be to that person who said it just as impactful or important as someone saying that I've listened to 5 of the episodes and they're amazing. It's just different support from different people.
Hey, man, not everybody sees the same vision you see, right? I mean, we are looking forward. Doesn't mean we're all looking at the same thing. So we're heading in different directions, even though we're all kind of going in the same general direction. So it's not that they're not your friends. They don't like you or nothing like that. They're just not into what you're into at this particular moment. They're your friends for other reasons. And that's okay, because you get to network and build a new community, a new group of people, a tribe of people who think along the same lines. And even the people in your tribe aren't going to do all the things you do in your life, but this one thing, they're definitely going to be on board with you. So where do you go to get information? Like when you do research for a show, or you're doing you're learning in your finance career, where is it that you go to find information, validation? Where is it that you're searching for information at?
Oh, for me, I love numbers. So what I do is I'll go to, in Canada here, I'll look at Stats Canada. So I'll find out how many people are married based on cultural background. I find out how much people earn based on cultural background. For those who are American, I'll look up the CDC. I'll go to Brookings. I'll read articles on that. I'll go to I'll just Google and search. Google's such a beautiful search engine. I try to make sure that I know a little bit about everything. And what I do is I try to get a biography or at least a summary of the person I'm interviewing and find out what makes them tick. So I will speak to them over a couple of days before the interview, maybe a week or so, just to understand their train of thought, what interests them, what makes them smile, what makes them do what they want to do. And that's how I get that information because I want it all to relate to them. But when it comes to figures and stuff like that, I am definitely someone that does that because that was my background when I went to school because I did take paralegal in school. So we had our nose in the book every single day.
Study, 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 study. All right. We're big on being a testimonial company and sending referrals to our network. So I got a two-part question for you. One is, what is it that you need help with right now? We have a huge network of different professionals out there. Like I said, episode 854, we've interviewed over 650 different professionals in different industries. So if you needed help, because entrepreneurship is not a solo sport, if you needed help, maybe we can connect you with somebody. And I'll take this moment, ladies and gents. We're giving away 10 free vacations courtesy of hotelsetc.com. So if you guys want a vacation, it's very simple. Send me a DM at Business Bros Pod on whatever platform you're on. Send me a DM and let me know what you need help with. I will connect you with another professional in our network who can help you solve that problem or help you ourselves if you need insurance help. And we'd love to do that. So when you ask us for help, you enter into the drawing. The person that we refer you to will also enter that drawing, and we're going to give away 10 free vacations. So make sure you guys follow us at Business Bros Pod. Send us those DMs. Who can we help introduce you to? So Terraine, what's going on with you, man? What can I help introduce, or who can I help introduce to you to help grow your business?
Well, for me, the next step for my business would be merchandise. So I'm looking to get into the clothing and items and things like that. So if there's any referrals in regards to that, that would be much appreciated. Or even just to learn more about the marketing of that, because that is one of my goals for the next year is to make sure that I fulfill that as well.
Awesome. All right. Well, I can think of one off the top of my head, somebody that I know is in the clothing industry, Mr. Loyal Fiel. And I know because one of his hats is back here somewhere, right? Right back here, we have a Loyal Fiel hat. So I'll connect you guys, and that way you guys can talk and learn a little bit from each other from what's going on in that industry. And then we'll talk a little more about the type of marketing, because there's a ton of marketing people that we know that can help you out with that stuff as well. All right, last thing is we love video testimonials. So Terraine, what was your experience like on the Business Bros podcast?
Oh, I would say you both have been amazing. You've been an amazing host. I love the introduction. I love the edit and the energy alone. To those listening, these two are a brilliant, brilliant mind. They're on top of their game and they know exactly how to treat their guests because I feel like I'm talking to two people I've known for years.
Thank you very much. All right, man. Dude, that's our program. We're loving the new conversation with people. I encourage you before we head out, let people know how can they get a hold of you if they want to talk to you on social media, if they want to learn about your podcast, maybe listen to some episodes, and then how can we do that if we wanted to do so?
Absolutely. So you can check me out on facebook.com/behindtheshadesfb. And you can find me on Instagram, Behind the Shades Interview, as well as anchor.fm/Behind the Shades. And those are the three areas you can find me. And I look forward to listening to everyone's feedback. And for those who are going to join me, please let me know your thoughts.
All right, ladies and gents, that's it for today's episode. See, all you got to do is go to our website, businessbros.biz, and then click an appointment with me if you want to talk to me specifically, or book a spot on the guest on the show. Look, our guest list is like 10 weeks long, and we'd love to have you on the show. So we have a couple different options for you to jump the line, or even take one of our VIP packages where we create some additional content for you guys, like an episode teaser promo, and then we give you a little bit of a content bump, because let's face it, organic reach just sucks these days. So you got to have a target audience. Who is it that you want to talk to? We'll pump that out and put your episode in front of them. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure at the last you guys also go to Business Bros businessbros.biz, join the Business Bros Network so that you can be part of the leads that we send out to our group, as well as if you need help with anything, send us a message. Ladies and gents, we'll talk to you later. Terraine, thank you very much for being on the show. Peace, and we're out.
Thank you for listening to the Business Bros Podcast. Are you looking to get more clients or to increase your income? Hernan, the Business Bro, can help you generate referrals through the power of podcasting. And James, the Insurance Bro with Pipeline Insurance, can help you effectively add insurance to your existing business. If you are ready to create wealth today and generational wealth for tomorrow, email businessbros@csfirst.com to schedule a free consultation. Or join the Business Bros Network, www.businessbros.biz.